Hi! Happy Pride Month, so I'm gonna wait for Reshna to join. My live got disconnected for some reason, so I'm starting it again. Hopefully my internet's better this time. But yeah, I'm just gonna go wait for Reshna and we can have a conversation. Let me send her a request. Okay. Hi!
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Sorry, I am still trying to figure out this Instagram Live thing, so bear with me here.
No, it's fine. My Instagram like got disconnected twice. I'm like, oh my god, what is happening?
Whoa. I know. I have not done an Instagram Live before, so this is all new for me. So just full transparency here, a little nervous and technologically not savvy.
No, it's okay. We're just having a conversation. It's fine. We can do this.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Reshna. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a queer Indian American from Georgia, but currently located in San Francisco on the unceded land of the Ohlone and the Ramaytush. And I've been working with Desi Rainbow Parents and Allies as the LGBTQ facilitator support and coordinator for the past 6 to 8 months, and then attending the groups just as a member for about the past year. So thank you so much for having me and really excited to get into this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to go ahead and tell us what exactly is Desi Rainbow Parent and Allies?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so Desi Rainbow Allies was conceived around 2017 by our founder, Aruna Rao. And she was struggling to find support from the South Asian community when her child came out. And so not finding any South Asian parents that also could understand what she was going through, she decided to start her own community resource. And so that's kind of what Desi Rainbow Parents at its core started as a resource for South Asian families and friends of the queer Desi community to learn more about like these issues, community with each other, and then learn how to sort of better support their loved ones. And now it's kind of evolved and expanded into this entirely volunteer-led organization working toward the vision of more like a loving, inclusive Desi community. So it's really cool. It's exciting to be a part of, and it's definitely more like of a movement now.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's amazing that we get to be part of such amazing things and just
Yeah,
so much amazing things for our community.
exactly. And we're, expanding the knowledge base of like different generations, and it's cool that this is more of an intergenerational community. It's not just, kids or LGBTQ folks
Exactly.
or just, yeah, Gen X or,
Yeah.
baby boomers, parents. It's like a lot of intergenerational conversations that are very nourishing discussions. So
Yeah, I think I've noticed that conversation is something we're lacking so much in our community. There's so many things that people are unaware of that they would have known if they had just had a conversation.
exactly. And I think it also kind of it's nice because that space you can come into with a lot of curiosity. There's
Yeah.
no judgment in the They See Rainbow Parents like space because I see that especially with parents, we see parents coming from all walks of the coming out journey.
Mhm.
So it's like also LGBTQ individuals coming in kind of like still closeted and not feeling safe to come out, or kids coming in wanting to build more community and being out for a little while or being married, still having trouble with parental acceptance. So it's interesting to see everyone come in throughout their journeys and then to kind of also be privy to watching their growth.
Yeah. So, do you want to go ahead and tell us about what was your journey specifically about sexuality?
Sure, sure, absolutely. Yeah, so I knew I was attracted to women, or when I was young, when I was about like 5 years old, I knew that I felt that the way about girls that other girls feel about boys, and so I knew that was the way that I felt, but I also, reinforced by the culture, and I kind of came to the conclusion by watching media and the environment, and actually really kind of visualizing Southern and Indian culture, that like something that this wasn't acceptable, that this was
Yeah.
maybe okay. And so I never told anyone or acted on it. I kind of was paralyzed with this fear of the social ramifications of what, of being gay and being out. And so I was just kind of in complete denial for a long time, and didn't really let myself get close to even expressing feelings to a woman. And so, I kind of in my head went through the stages of, I was in denial for a long time. I kind of also went through anger, just kind of like, why am I this way? Why did God make me this way? And kind of transition more towards like bargaining as well. I think we all sort of, as children of immigrants, kind of go through this transactional mindset of like, if I check all of these boxes for my parents, then one day I can be myself, I can be gay, I could do this, and they'll still accept me, And so in my head, love was conditional, and parental acceptance was sort of
Yeah.
conditional and based on me checking off these boxes. And so eventually, I went to medical school. I dated men and checked as many of the boxes as I could, but still this feeling wasn't going away, and after, around 27, actually, after being in a lot of straight relationships and these feelings like still being there, I kind of decided to come out to a friend in grad school. And I was pretty panicked. It was tearful. But she was another Gujarati. And so I thought that she would understand what queerness was in the context of the culture. And so just that one act of telling her was just made me feel so much lighter. It took this sort of unbearable weight that I was carrying on my own off of me, and I could breathe a little bit easier. And it gave me the space to finally accept this about me, all of this that I had kind of suppressed and pushed down. So yeah, that's
I'm
how
so
I.
proud of you for like basically denying it to like accepting and then like doing this, like having a conversation with people, like, so many people watching, having a conversation like this. It's amazing. Like, I don't think I could have ever been able to do that.
It's really tough. And honestly, the thing is, it's not just mine. I'm not alone in this journey, because I know that so many other people have gone through this as well. Through Desi Rainbow Parents, I've met so many other queer individuals that have come out later in life, because it's it's dependent on so many factors. You know what I mean? I think especially for queerness, it has to be something you feel safe to, even financial sense, because we're so dependent on our parents, and we don't want to lose that safety net, that system of support. And for me, that absolutely contributed to why I came out so late, was because I had finished grad school and I was like, okay, I'm paying all of my bills, I can do what I want and shape my life the way that I want it to be, finally. And so that's a really big factor to contribute to, folks coming out. And I never try and push anyone, because I think a lot of people feel this guilt of, oh, I should have done this 10 years ago, or why am I still in the closet? There's so many people that are out. I can do this. But you also have to feel safe to do so. That financial security, that emotional safety, it can't be discounted or underestimated.
Mhm. So, have like when you came out to your parents, how was their initial reaction, and how are is their reaction now?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I just had a
Yeah. So, when you came out to your parents, how was their like initial reaction, and like what is their reaction now?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So I kind of slowly came out to people. It was way easier to come out to people that were actually like strangers to me because they didn't have this preconceived notion of, she was straight. She was dating men before. It was way easier to just, sorry. It was way easier to come out to strangers. So then I came out slowly to uh, college friends and then my brother. And he was really big with that. I was like, I was interested to see what his reaction was going to be because he could speak to what like my parents' reaction would be as well. So then I finally, after coming out, we sort of prepared for this like a presentation, like typical, Indian immigrant status. I was like, I'm going to serve this to them on a platter, they'll accept it. I'm going to, make this like a presentation and tell them numbers and how long I've been feeling and and I think that was my way of trying to control the situation. And I realized like we can't control people's reactions, but through having a therapist, I finally got to this place of saying, okay, I'm going to talk to my parents. I'm going to, tell them what's going on. And at that point, I was also in like my first long-term relationship with a woman. And so I didn't want to recall that partner at the time. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna sit down with my parents. And so actually they came, I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time. And my brother flew out, my parents flew out as well. And so that Friday night I had planned on telling them. It was an emotional experience. They throughout that weekend, they were happy, they were sad, there were tears, they also had to go through their own grieving process, because they had this idea of what my future was going to be, marriage to a man and kids and a house. And so they had to go through a process of, grieving that and not, and knowing that that wasn't going to be my future. And it took a while, it was about 6 months before we really talked about it more. And then thereafter, they started to go through their own process of coming to terms with it. So, my mom had confidants that she sort of talked to about this. They started doing some research, attending some PFLAG meetings. And they realized that while they were getting a lot from those PFLAG meetings, a component of their identity wasn't actually addressed. The Desiness.
Mm-hmm.
They were hearing, from, a lot of them, white people, and that this is coming to terms with their child's sexuality, but they also didn't see anyone with their exact same like lived experience. And so it wasn't until actually Desi Rainbow Parents that they saw that it offered support for parents who knew exactly what they were feeling, the pressure and judgment of South Asian community, what people say, that sort of community mindset that's pretty conservative. Really needed that. And so that was a community that they sought out, and then have I've seen like some really instrumental growth with them, because they still go to meetings now. They're learning new terms at these meetings. They're hearing stories. They're expanding their knowledge base through this community. And now, I mean, it's been probably like, 4 or 5 years now since I came out to them. And so now our relationship, it's never been better. We're more open and transparent with each other. It definitely took time, and I'm really lucky to have them. And so, but that's not always the case for a lot of LGBTQ folks. I'm extremely lucky and grateful for the relationship. And it's not perfect by any means, because, I had to unlearn a lot of things regarding our bond and regarding that parent-child dynamic, that power dynamic as well. Because I think now I'm at a place where initially I was bargaining, right? Like I was telling you, I was like, all of these things are conditional. And now I'm at this place where, my parents don't know me. And I don't exist to please them. Yeah. And I don't grow if I let them micromanage my life. I'm coming to, this realization now that the more time I spend trying to live up to, everyone's expectations, not just my parents, the more I lose of myself. And it's while I'm extremely grateful for them, now I'm exercising, my choice and making decisions that make me happy and bring me joy.
Yeah, that's literally the best character development ever, that like you are actually living for yourself now, and
Yeah,
that you're happy with yourself. I think like you could have never gotten that way if you hadn't come out to your parents and hadn't been like, this is me, accept it. Like,
yeah,
please just accept it.
exactly, exactly. And I think I was so deathly afraid of that. Like, honestly, I've been in therapy and I've talked to my therapist about this, that I didn't even see a future for myself that, beyond marriage, even children. I didn't even consider that because I was like, what does this look like for me? I don't know how this would work. I haven't seen it out in the world, so I don't know how to do this without having seen it modeled. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, yeah, I mean, and there are tons of books that also talk about this as well. But in my head too, I was like, I'm gonna have to marry a gay guy, and we're gonna have to have our own arrangement, and seemingly everything will be perfect, but we will actually be living our own lives, and that was the only future that I could see that could work, that would be accepted by society, and that's bleak. You know, no one wants to like, no one wants to, doesn't want to look forward to their future. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's
But
like, yeah. Do you have any books that you recommend? Because like
yeah,
that you have so many books that you like.
sure, absolutely. Actually, a book that I read recently that kind of is that scenario where there's a gay male and then a lesbian female who get married, called Marriage of a Thousand Lies, aptly titled. And another one that I read for Desi Rainbow Parents Book Club was called The Henna Wars. And that was really, really good. It's more young adult. And then A Dutiful Boy is a new memoir that just came out last year, kind of detailing a queer Muslim gay man's journey growing up in Britain. And so, yeah, there's a lot of content actually coming out that's really, really important for representation. Yeah, really, really important for visibility because I wish I saw this stuff when I was younger.
Yeah, I feel like if you had seen that when you were younger, you would have been more accepting of yourself.
Absolutely. I think, thought in my head, like, oh, wow, this is an example of something of a life that I can live. This is a possibility there because that's kind of how we learn. And by seeing, models there, and one of the awesome things that They See Rainbow Parents is doing now too is we do the support, which are really great for, LGBTQ folks, allies, parents, but we also do educational videos as well and speaker series. And so the Proud Possibilities series is one where we have, parents with their queer children talking about their coming out journeys together. And then, or a queer couple coming out or talking about their relationship with their parents and sort of like their whole story. And it's so important for representation. It's so important for both families and LGBTQ folks because even for families, they're like, what is their life going to be like now? Is it just
Yeah.
going to be cool? What is it going to be like when they get married, or when they go to our functions together, when they have kids? What is that journey like? And so these proud possibilities models are really, really awesome.
So I know you say you knew like that you were into women when you were very young, and but it took you a lot of time to accept it. How did you like actually accept it? Like, what was the process of that?
For me, it was really just dating men, and to me in my head I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's just not they're not the right guy. And so, but in my head I knew that if I even kissed a girl, it was going to be ending, like, so I didn't even let myself do that. To me, it also, how I knew was like holding a friend's hand or a hug or even them raising my arm felt more in my body, like physiologically, than anything with a man. And that's kind of how I knew, kind of going through those experiences and saying, this isn't right, like what they're experiencing and discussing about, my friends, when they were talking about sex or a relationship with a man and being so happy and like content and wanting just that person, that just wasn't it for me. And I knew something was missing. And that's kind of what it was, just kind of being in tune with myself this part of me is still there, and I'm suppressing it, and I can forget about it, but it's still going to come up in all of these different ways.
So how like what is exactly a pride for you? Like how do you celebrate it like every year? Ever since you like actually came out to everyone, like some of your friends and everything, how have you been celebrating differently?
Sure. Before I didn't celebrate Pride. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't participate in it at all. But once I came out, Pride to me now is bittersweet for sure. Because there's so much Pride started as a protest, you know. It started as a protest by Black and Brown trans women, um, sort of self-declaring that they are there, and self-declaring their existence. And there's been a lot of violence. There's a lot of now like anti-trans legislation this year, and bigotry and hate, and that's really difficult. And I think around Pride too, like there's a lot of reconciling between the celebration and the joy, and also the grief that sort of surrounds the community with the loss of the community, generational trauma. So it's bittersweet for me, but the celebrating is phenomenal. Of course, there are things to celebrate, and I think it seems like everything may be okay with sponsorship, rainbows, and the parades, but there's still a lot of work to be done. But now that I've been out for a little while, now Pride is about sort of celebrating my whole identity. Being myself, not having to compartmentalize between the different identities that I hold, honoring all of them, and being in community with other queer South Asians. It's like makes me feel seen, heard, safe, loved, all of that. And so basking in that sort of queer joy is the epitome of pride.
Hmm. It's like I honestly don't understand the hate behind like somebody else's sexuality. Like, why do you care who other people love?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It shouldn't affect, and I think that's the other thing I see within the Indian community too, is that with the Desi community is just that like even with parents, it's like, oh, that person can be what they want to be, but as long as it's not within our household, as long as it's not my
I
child.
know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I've heard that so many times before.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that's the level that we need to push a little bit deeper. That it's like, why? Because that's also internalized like homophobia, right?
Hmm.
Not accepting it if it is your own child. And so I think that's what Desi Rainbow Parents too has been really good about pushing past that and saying it is our children. All of these are our children, and we want to make sure that they're accepted in whatever space they are, especially the South Asian diaspora, because that's their space. For the longest time, I didn't feel comfortable, and still, it's a work in progress. Me feeling comfortable in a lot of like South Asian specific spaces, Diwali and Navratri and some of these spaces too. It's difficult because even just as a woman with short hair, I feel like I stand out because women just all have long hair. Everything's very feminine, and so it's a work in progress, and I think that's something we can definitely work towards.
And like I see so many people using the word gay as an insult for guys, which I hate. Which is like, okay, if they're gay, what is the problem with that?
Yeah. Oh,
It
absolutely.
doesn't concern you. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And like those labels too are so cool, The thing is, I think within the LGBTQ community, like it's really like an alphabet soup. You can decide where you are and where you are change. I think for me too, it was like initially I was like, okay, I have to find the right label for myself because everyone's gonna hold me to that label. And most recently, as I've been coming more towards or moving more towards like a masculine of center appearance and presentation, it's kind of deviating towards non-binary. And so then there are folks that are like, okay, are you non-binary? What's your, are you gender queer? And it's like there's always this thought of wanting to put, folks in boxes to make it easier to understand. And I think within this community, I love that there's so much acceptance around fluidity.
yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, you're not trying to put anybody in one box of like this one, and you have to stay there for your whole life. It's just not. It doesn't. Not conducive to growth.
Yeah, recently one of my best friends came out to me and I was like, and she thought I was going to judge her, and I was like, no, I'm so glad you felt comfortable enough to tell me. And
Yeah,
it's like, could you like tell us like how to be there for people, like for our friends or family that have just come out?
sure, absolutely. Um, Yeah, in that moment, it's really difficult. And I think that I can just speak from my experience when I was coming out to, friends, family, whoever, especially folks that I'm really close to, there was a lot of nerves there, it's a very jarring thing to go through because, this default that someone has of you or this expectation, this picture that they have of you, you're saying, hey, I'm changing that a little bit and I just want to keep you updated. And so really, being compassionate and loving and thanking that person for sharing this with you is really important because it's a difficult thing to share, and a lot of the time we don't, we don't owe that to anyone,
Yeah.
but when we do share it, it's something that I think should be, of course, respected, honored, treated with a lot of love, and just trying to make that person feel safe, and allowing them to grow still, So wherever they may be in terms of their gender identity, their coming out journey, their sexual orientation, like just saying that you love them and that you're there for them whenever they need you. Yeah.
So
So
you
it
have
sounds like
there. Sorry, I cut you off.
oh no, that's okay. So it sounds like you did that already, which is good.
So you mentioned a little bit about therapy, like that helped a lot. Like how and what way did it help you exactly?
Sure. Yeah, so therapy was really, I thought I wanted to, I needed therapy just to come out. And then I was going to stop. And I was like, that's all I need you for, just help me through this. And what it really helped me realize is that there's so much more that's deeper that being queer, living in the South, being a woman within South Asian culture, all of those layers were things that were kind of really influencing the way that I walk through the world. And I think therapy was helpful because I got to kind of take those layers off, sort of really dig into who like little Reshna was. There's inner child work that people talk about, and so really, really diving into like the internal desires that I have, and what makes me me, and what I like and what I don't like, and really empowering that. Because until that time, I was like I was saying, I've taken on my parents' thoughts and expectations and society's thoughts about myself and the culture, Indian culture, and then the Southern culture, and all of those things were, created me and made me who I was. But all of those weren't things that I wanted to hold on to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was kind of like therapy was helpful to tease out. It was like going through my closet and saying, "Do I actually like this outfit? No, I'm throwing this out. Do I actually?" That's going through each thing that made up my identity and deciding whether I wanted to keep it and if it brought me joy, like Marie Kondoing my whole life, really, and figuring out what kind of made me happy and what didn't.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think like therapy is so helpful in the sense that like it really helps you define yourself basically.
Yeah.
I think for me, like it's been a big part of my life for like the last 2 or 3 years and has just like helped me be the person I am today. Like,
Mm-hmm.
help me be more comfortable with the person I am and just being like, yeah, this is me. Accept it or leave it basically.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you because really, and therapy is like even making that step towards therapy, deciding to like, this is not inexpensive by any means, and it's not easily accessible sometimes for a lot of people. And so, I also like to mention too that like if you're not able to, afford therapy, that also is okay because it's not accessible to a lot of folks. But it definitely helps kind of to really hone in on who you are. And for me too, there was a lot of unlearning that I had to do and empowering of myself. And sometimes you also just want someone to like who's on your team,
Yeah.
to help you be your best you. And that's what I found for my therapist as well. It's like you can't avoid a lot of things with your therapist. Eventually, like you get down to the nitty gritty. It's important.
Like you need a person who's gonna listen to you without like judging.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's been like huge for me, huge for me. I've been really really lucky to be able to have like really great therapists. But yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I recommend it to everybody.
Me too. Like every 2 minutes, I was like, guys, this was my therapist said you should go to her.
I do the same thing. I refer to my therapist as almost like a friend. So whenever I talk to my friends, I'm like, Lori said this, and they're like, what? She just dropping therapy gems, left and right, and it's awesome.
And it's like what and like we had this like recent breakthrough about something from my childhood, and I was like literally just crying on our Zoom call, and we were just talking, and like after this call, she's sending me memes. She's like, "Oh, this makes me feel better."
Yes, it's awesome. It's awesome, and I mean, like, it's a really I didn't think of it as a relationship until like now we're about maybe a year and a half in, or maybe a little bit longer, and I'm like, this is a really long-term relationship now that I need to have in my life, and like she knows so many things about me too. Like I think there was one thing that it was so funny. Do you know Kumon, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah, you have to know.
I know you have to know Kumon. So I went to Kumon when I was young, of course, right? A child of an immigrant parent, and so like going to Kumon, it was like had to be done. And I was mentioning this to her, and we were talking about through some just like random issue. And I was like, yeah, well, I have to do this, make sure that it's okay. I feel like they're going to be judging me. And she's like, Reshna, you're not in Kumon anymore. You don't have to do this. And it like, I was like, mic drop. You just called back something from my childhood that I didn't even remember telling you. It was awesome.
Yeah, like for me, it's like there are 3 people I call or text like every day. One is my therapist, the second is my mom, and the third is my best friend. And like my therapist is still number one.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's nice because I think I found with therapy, before therapy, I used to rely a lot on my friends. Even through coming out, I would like call a lot of my friends and, what should I do in this situation? And that's a big burden to put on friends to help you through big crises sometimes. And now it's been really great because I can actually just like soak up what's happening with my friends. And I
Yeah.
don't have to, ask something of them. I can be there for them because I have a therapist who can listen to me and be there for me.
Yeah. I remember I heard this somebody say this. It's like when you are like in a relationship with somebody, doesn't matter if it's like romantic or just like, friendship or just your family. Your happiness is not their responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility, and their happiness is their own responsibility. You come together and you become friends with somebody, you get a relationship with somebody because you guys want to basically make each other even happier by being together because you like each other. And when you start burdening the other person with your happiness, it gets hard, and then relationships tend to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true. And I think too, kind of piggybacking on that, like if you can't I remember, an ex saying this and mentioning that like I can't be there for someone else if I'm not showing up for myself. If I can't take care of another person if I'm not taking care of myself first. You don't have anything to give at that point. You're giving away all your resources. Your cup's empty. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's really, really important.
Yeah, I had a friend who just like told me that like one of her exes like was actually on medication for depression without telling her.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's crazy because it's like, that way she can't basically keep herself happy in that relationship. And he can't be happy because he's not really himself in front of her. He's
Mm,
not like upfront about everything with her.
that's tough. And, that's the other thing is it's such a stigma against like, medications for depression and anxiety when majority of people are taking them. And
Yeah,
there's such a shame around like admitting to it when there doesn't need to be.
exactly.
it's like I think majority of people, especially in like, the time that we're living in, the last year and a half, I don't know who can handle this without some sort of medication or something.
Absolutely.
It's been really heavy. So yeah, also power to anyone who, is on any type of like antidepressant or medication or has decided that for themselves. A lot of my friends have as well. I think, whatever you need to do that makes you feel good, whatever moves you have to make that feel like you're honoring yourself, awesome. Support it. Yeah.
Yeah, just you. If you're struggling right now, you just have to remember there are people who love you and care about you, and sometimes it doesn't have to be people like that you're super close to. I know family can be difficult for some people, but there are people in the world that care about you and you're loved.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not always like medication needs to be the first thing there or, the first thing you think about for any type of mental health stuff. Like, for Desi Rainbow parents too, like peer support has been proven to help mental health. And so
Definitely.
that one-on-one support or attending a group with other people that are like you, there are resources out there. So I'm so glad that, this organization and other organizations like it exist to help for this specific reason.
We're also having like a mental health meeting soon, and then like yeah. So anybody watching this, if you guys want to check it out, please check it out, and also check out Casey Rainbow Parents and Alice because it's amazing. I'm literally gonna go stalk you guys after this.
Please do, please do. And I would be remiss if I didn't make a plug here that, we also had very generous donors that said that they would match up to $10,000 before the end of Pride Month. So any donations that you can, it's Desi Rainbow Parents, or no, sorry, DesiRainbow.org/donate. And that, I don't know if we can pin that or something like that. I saw that on IG Live some time ago. I don't know if that's a thing. But
I think you can add in the comments, but you're probably gonna have to add like www dot.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
that,
think.
that's okay. It's okay. But
But I can
basically,
also add in like when I post this on IGTV, I can add.
that would be awesome. Yes, because we're trying to hit that $10,000 match goal. So that way, all of this is because it's an organization that's volunteer led. So all of this fundraising is to hire staff um, and keep the movement kind of moving
Yeah,
forward. Because
it's such an amazing organization. It needs to like go on for like ever.
yeah, I could keep talking about it for so long. It's really, really great, and it's cool. I was also going to mention like we have people from India joining in the middle of the night, their time. They're joining just to be a part of the group. We have people from Canada, all over, and it's really a testament to how like desperately needed this type of space is.
Yeah, one of my friends, he basically like he's living in India right now, and he's basically wanting to be joining organizations from here. He's like, you guys are like doing so much over here, and I think they also like did this like the student led meeting thing like they did this event where they were like donating to people that are struggling with covid relief and like lgbt plus community, and it's just like I was like that's amazing that like students are doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm not worried about like Gen Z at all. Like, I mean,
Yes.
their activism itself is just like it's so strong, it's so real. They're like 10 steps ahead of like millennials for that matter, because I think there's such a pull, there's such a fire under them to like to change things and seeing things for as they are, which I love so much. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, Gen Z. Like I'm super sensitive, but at the same time, I'm super sensitive and like awkward and like so in public, like But when it comes to things I care about, I'm just like, this is not gonna happen. We
Yeah.
have to make a change.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. It's something that I think like yeah, millennials. I know I can speak for myself at least. Like there's a little bit more hesitation there to actually like act. And Gen Zers don't have that at all. There's no fear, which I think is like the main thing. It's really really cool to see. And then what you were mentioning too about like COVID and especially thing, but then like within the LGBTQ community, it's so much more. The health disparities are unbelievable. And sorry, I think you froze for a little bit, but we're good now.
Yeah.
I was just mentioning stuff about like health disparities in the LGBTQ community. Because I know that was something we kind of talked about.
Yeah. Okay, thank God you didn't get cut off though. Like, I could hear you, so it's good.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being with us today. Like, this was such an amazing conversation. I've been like, ever since Emily texted me about this, like our founder, I was like, I want to have this conversation with her.
Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate it. You've been like so personable and friendly, and like it's made it a lot easier for me because I was really nervous.
Me too. I was really nervous too. I was like, I don't want to say anything wrong. I don't want to mess up on any of her words.
Oh, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.